Hi, I am Roz Jones. I'm the CEO and owner of Jacksonville's Best Caregivers, and we are located in the Sunshine State of Jacksonville, Florida. And my company, we are a non-medical home health care business, and we provide 4 levels of service to your loved one: sitter, homemaker, companion, home health aide, and certified nursing assistant. And our mantra is, if you can't do it all, you give us a call. So today I just wanted to talk to you all a little bit about caregiving during COVID. What has changed? Is anything still the same? And as many of us know, it's not. The nursing homes that many of our loved ones may be in or may eventually be in were not built for isolation. And so with them being isolated in the nursing home, it's caused many problems. It's caused depression, it's caused anxiety, as well as death. Some people have died from loneliness. So how do we reverse this? How do we make sure that this does not continue on? So we have to make sure that either you have to make sure you stay in contact either by phone or by writing letters or sending cookies. I'm going to give you a good example. The client that I'm taking care of today, her great nieces and nephews and friends during COVID, the children drew pictures, someone baked cookies for her, someone sent her a really nice bottle of scotch. Yes. So, they have sent her all kind of wonderful things to keep her going, and they have called, and that is so important. The isolation, even though it stops the physical contact, you still can contact through letter writing, and these other things. So that's part of the way COVID has impacted the nursing homes. Now, so far as doctors' visits, that's another impact because many of the people living in facilities have doctors come in. Well, now they're doing the telemedicine to where they're doing it over the phone. So the young lady that I'm taking care of, we have had to talk to the doctors by phone. And we have actually had to do the actual assessment of her body for the doctor or for the nurse or whoever, because either they're not able to get in because they didn't take the COVID test, or they won't come in because of the high risk to the population here in the different facilities. So that's another way COVID has impacted. Also, too, COVID has impacted when it comes to advanced directives. Many people did not, during COVID, they didn't have their advanced directives. So when it was time to make decisions, to move people, they didn't have that information already taken care of. So they didn't know how I wanted to be treated. Do I want a DNR? Do I want to be incubated? These were decisions that were not discussed nor prepared for prior to COVID. And so now, since COVID, you have to sit down and have this conversation. I know people don't want to talk about death and all of this, but it's a conversation that has to be had. There's no way to get around it. None of us can get around it. So make it easy for your family. Have everything in order, your advance directive, your will, your trust, so that this stuff does not go to probate. Let's not make the courts rich. Let's leave a legacy for your family by getting your life insurance. Make sure it's up to date. Make sure all of this stuff is taken care of, because now COVID is forcing us to have this conversation that we didn't want to have before. Also, too, one of my clients, she was supposed to have hip surgery. And for many of any type of major surgeries or minor surgeries, they pushed it back. And the reason why they pushed it back was because the hospitals needed either the ventilators or the PPEs to take care of people with COVID. So that was a priority. So if your surgery was not life-threatening, you had to postpone it. But now, since you postpone it, you have to do different things for pre-op, during the surgery, and post-op that you didn't have to do before COVID. Also, too, during the COVID crisis, we asked people, and I beg, please, ma'am, please, sir, go and get tested. Not only for your peace of mind, but then to keep the people that you are around, your loved ones, to keep them safe. Not only get the COVID test, but get the antibodies test to see if you have had come in contact with someone in the past, or if you currently have it, because the antibodies will tell you instantly whether or not you have been in contact. So those are just some of the ways that COVID has impacted caregiving. And another way it's impacted too is that going to the grocery store is different. We have to go during non-high peak hours to the grocery store, or they can't go at all. And I have to go out and do the shopping. Or we have to use Instacart or some of these other shopping companies to bring the food in. And then in some of the facilities, they have cut out dining completely, and they deliver the food to the resident because of COVID. And now some of the facilities here in Florida, and I'm not sure about everywhere else, but here in Florida, they are just getting to stage 1 to where they are allowing them to come back out and have some type of interaction with one another. But for months, for 6 months, many of us have had to take care of the person inside of the facility, or I'm blessed with my client. She has a car. So we go out and do what we call field trips or excursions. We ride around the city, or, we may take a trip. Many of you may be familiar with St. Augustine. So we ride through St. Augustine. We may go somewhere else, but, getting out once a week. Those are the things that you have to remember when you have a loved one in a facility, and not even at a facility, at your house, because of the isolation. Get them out of the house. That is so important. And then also, too, another thing that we've had to do is Amazon has been huge here in a lot of the facilities. They deliver here at least 4 or 5 times a day because they work with Whole Foods. So they, bring the food. They deliver undergarments. They deliver, the bed pads, medicine, pill boxes, all these type of things that we took for granted that we used to go to the store for. Now we've had to alter our shopping because we cannot go out like we used to in the public. And even me as a caregiver, I have had to alter a lot of my life. I too only go to the stores here in Jacksonville. They allow essential personnel to come in on Thursday mornings and Friday mornings before anybody else to do shopping, which is nice. So that means that we don't come in contact with the general public that much other than the employees at the store. I used to take my uniforms to the dry cleaners. I don't do that anymore because I don't know who may or may not have COVID that's cleaning the clothes. So I do everything myself. When I go home, it's a different process. I Lysol my shoes before I come in. I change my clothes in the garage, and I wash them separate from everybody else in the house. So COVID has taken a significant impact, not only on the people receiving care, but also on essential employees. I bathe with a different soap. I don't bathe with Dove or Dial. I bought a special surgical soap that I use to make sure that I'm clean. These are the precautions that I take since COVID. And then on a weekly basis, I go and get a COVID test. Every week, I have a standing appointment to where I go and get a COVID test. The new normals are, I'm going to give you an example. At the end of our shifts, before I leave out, we have to wipe down the doors with Clorox wipe. All the high touch areas, we make sure that we have it clean. The refrigerator door, the microwave, the toilet seat handle, the guardrails that they pull up with. All of that is things that we, of course we would clean, but now we clean it more often to reduce the opportunity for COVID. So it's a new norm. Are we going to go back to the way we were? No, I don't think so. I really doubt it. One of the first things when COVID first came out, the concern was because of my age, if I go to the hospital with COVID, will they treat me or will they let me die? That was heart clenching for me to hear one of the clients say that. Not, it wasn't even a client, it was just one of the residents, walking in the hallway and having a conversation. Will they treat me or will they let me die because of my age? And so that was the mentality for a lot of them until it started coming out that they're treating the elderly as well as the young, and everybody was being treated the same. But, initially when it came out, that was scary. They were saying that we weren't going to treat the elderly and they were going to let them die. That was real scary. Even with the veterans, a lot of them, again, isolation. So we're sending them back through another trauma, almost like another war. My parents, my dad is a Vietnam vet, and it's been very hard on them because they are so isolated as well. So we haven't even been able to visit my parents. Now, my client here, she's very lucky. We get to go and see her daughter and her granddaughter. But some people aren't that lucky where they get to actually go and see their loved one. But we still take the precautions when we go out and visit. We have the mask, we have the hand sanitizer. We do all of that. But it's important to her. As she always says, I want to see my babies. These are my babies. That's my only grandchild, So we make sure that we take her on a field trip to go see her children. Because they're so isolated and they can't get out like they want, they're not coping well. A lot of them have lost weight. A lot of them don't eat. They don't have an appetite. That's when the depression sets in. So some of them have really gone into a deep depression. And now here it is 6 months later, they're starting to get out, and it's almost like a flower blossoming that they're able to get out. Just like this weekend, I will make sure that, we get out at least 2 or 3 times in the next couple of days to make sure that they see each other. That's part of it, is to make sure that we try to get back to some normal way of visiting and some normal way of being able to see family and friends. So those are the things that they don't have. Because when they were able to visit during COVID, they had to visit on the other side of a screen or look outside their window to visit with their loved ones. That was horrible. That was horrible. Or they had to do a drive-by. With my client, her daughter has done drive-bys, and we've sat outside and, spoken from a distance, but that's all we could do. That's all we could do. We are a country of human touch, and touch is so important in thriving and healing and living. And when you lose that touch, they lose a lot of their identity and who they are. So we try our best to make sure that, if they can't do a hug and a kiss, that at least they can see them, at least from a distance. But now they're going to allow some hugging and things like that. So hopefully it's going to be a turnaround for a lot of them. This isolation has been horrible. It has been horrible. And I can't wait for them to be able to get back out and mingle with their community. These facilities were built for them to be able to still thrive in a community that's similar to what they had when they're at home. And we shut that off for 6 months. And it was like taking 6 months of their life away. My optimism for 2020, I think we are going to be able to start having more interaction, but we have flu season coming up. That's the scary part, So still we have to take those precautions, even in flu season. Let's remember that. This is not over. So, we have two things that's going to butt heads. We have COVID and we have the flu season. Take the same precautions. And get your documentation in order. That's the big thing that's my biggest thing. Please, ma'am, please, sir, sit down with your family members and get your documentation in order and don't let it go to probate. My name is Roz Jones, and I am aware that I am rare.